You ready to learn about Pokemon Colosseum? Alright, that's good, Richard. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Get my little notes here. Alright, yes, question.
Who is this character?
You'll learn all about this character very, very shortly. Alright, students, welcome, one and all, to Pokemon Colosseum 101, where I will be covering the Colosseum series of games. Oh, where's the clicker?
Right there.
Perfect. Alright, so we'll start off by doing a quick overview of what could be considered the Colosseum games. We have Pocket Monsters Stadium, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon XD, and Pokemon Battle Revolution. There's nothing that's super, there's some connections obviously stronger than others, and some that are direct sequels than others, but they all are the same sort of related games, yes.
What was the best mini game you think in Pokemon Stadium?
Well, we'll go over the mini games. I'll just say I don't have an opinion on that, yes.
Do they have good-natured sporting competitions in Stadium and fight to the death in Colosseum?
Sort of. You could argue that that's the case, yes. Alright. So, we'll start with Pocket Monsters Stadium, released in 1998. This was a Japan exclusive game. And what it is just your very basic battle simulator. You can only battle with 40 of the original 151 Pokemon. The rest were available. You could see them, but you could only battle with a select 40 of them. There's a lot of speculation that there was going to be an add-on, and is sort of like an N64 DLC that they had in mind that they might do, but that didn't end up sort of happening. So this is more just a demo for the next game, which we have Pokemon Stadium for the N64, released like a year later, I think. You can see here a very basic demonstration of what it is. It's a very battle simulator where you could upload your Pokemon from, or you could use a rental team. You could upload it from your base Pokemon Red and Blue and Green and battle with them in awesome 3D graphics right here. One of the other features to it, since this one actually has features. Oh, I should mention that this is actually known in Japan as Pokemon Stadium 2. We didn't get the original one. This one came to the States, so there's a little bit of a Final Fantasy sort of numbering system going on here. One of the features is you can do a gym leader castle where you go through, battle each of the gym leaders with modified teams, and battle the Elite Four. So this is sort of the big attraction for battling. In addition to that, there are mini games, which Richard asked which one is my favorite, and I will just go through them all here. And, some of you might know these more than I do, but we have Clefairy Says here, where you kind of follow along and point in the right direction. You have Dig Dig Dig, where you're digging down with the Sandshrew. You have Ekans Hoopearl, where you throw little Ekans and try to lasso the Diglets. Magikarp Splash, where you try to bounce the highest, I believe. Rock Hard, where you try not to get destroyed as a bug Pokemon, is Metapod or Kakuna. Run, Rattata Run, where you're running on a treadmill and avoiding obstacles. Snore Wars, I guess it's like you're pushing the little pendulum around. Sushi Go Round, where you're with a Lickitung here trying to get the sushi. And Thundering Dynamo, with a Voltorb or Pikachu trying to charge that thing up the best. So Pokemon Stadium is, I guess, remembered for the mini games mostly because just battling Pokemon isn't the most interesting thing. There's not a whole lot of story going along with it. But there is, I guess, more recently, there is a popularity for the Pokemon Stadium doing different sorts of battling. So that's basically that game. There's no story to it. Pokemon Stadium 2 is much the same. This is sort of just an expansion, I guess, to incorporate the new generation Generation 2 of Pokemon. You got the same sort of thing. You got the Gym Leader Castle. You battle all the Johto Gym Leaders, and you battle the Johto Elite Four. If you beat all of them, you battle the rival, and then that unlocks all the Kanto Gym Leaders, and then you get to battle Red. So there's a little more to that. Yes.
Is the rival Gary Oak, or is it just some other rival?
It's the rival from Generation 2, who is
Oh.
Silver. I don't think you battle Gary Oak in this one.
Lame.
I'll edit it if I'm wrong about that. So, there's that. And the mini games for this one, once again, there was 8 in the last one, there's 12 in this one. Gutsy Golbat, where you fly around and get hearts. Topsy Turvy, you're, I guess, avoiding the little fire or something. Might have to keep adjusting my fro, but that's alright. Clear Cut Challenge, where you're chopping wood as a pincer. You've got Frolic, where you are running around and I guess getting the ball. We have Barrier Ball. This one looks kind of like air hockey almost. Pichu's Power Plant, where you're trying to charge all the electrical nodes. Rampage Rollout, where you're a Dawn fan and going around a little lap. You have Streaming Stampede, where you run around with different Pokemon, and I guess you try to count them. You have Tumbling Togepi. This is, I think, looks a lot like the Rattata minigame from the last one. You have Delibird's Delivery, where you are, I guess, delivering presents. Eager Eevee, right here, running around, and the Chansey one, Egg Emergency. So, if you're wondering why I don't know about this, it's because I never had an N64. So I've never played either of the Stadium games. Yes, question.
I believe Stadium 1 is now on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes, you can play this on Virtual Console now. But for the most part, the first 2 games, or I guess the first 3 games, are just the battle simulator, and there's some mini games along to go with that. Yes.
Which one do you think would be your favorite if you had played them?
Probably Stadium 2, just because there's the most to
No,
it.
the minigames.
Oh, the mini games?
Yeah.
Probably. I like the one here with the Togepi and the attack.
Take one.
Yes.
I want to note that if it's anything like the Rattata game, that one has the worst controls in the Stadium.
Oh, perfect. Well, then I'll definitely love it. Yes.
Say, can I add an extra note?
Yes. Go ahead.
There's a really cool thing that came with Stadium 1 and 2 where it's like a little cartridge, like attachment thing.
Mhm.
You punch into the bottom of the N64 controller, you can plug your, like, Pokemon Yellow, Red, Blue, Gold
Yes.
stuff into it.
You can upload your teams and battle with the teams from those games in
Wow.
That's
awesome
really cool.
3D. Yes.
I noticed there's player 1 on a bunch of computers. Can you battle your friends in these Mario Party style
Yes. Yes, you can. So if you plug in a bunch of N64 controllers, you can do that as well. So these were pretty popular and pretty successful. And I think they use all like the same 3D models. That'll be a continuing trend throughout these, where they use the exact same 3D models from the previous games, and I guess sometimes upscale them so they look a little bit nicer. But with that, we go on to Pokemon Colosseum. The first 2 were developed by some Nintendo in-house company, but for these games, they decided to outsource them to Genius Sonority, which does a lot of work with Nintendo. Initially, this was going to be Pokemon Stadium 3, like a continuation of the Stadium series. But with the introducing of Generation 3, there's sort of a divide where you can't bring your Generations 1 and 2 Pokemon up to Generation 3. They couldn't make the hardware with the Game Boy Color up to the new Game Boy Advance system. So what this game sort of does, and what they try to do the whole generation, is make it so you can catch all 386 Pokemon in the new generation of games without having to do it. So they released Ruby and Sapphire. You could catch mostly Hoenn Pokemon and some of the old ones. Then they released this game, Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon XD. They re-released Fire Red and Leaf Green, which is all the Hoenn games. So that's sort of that sort of explanation is for why some of the Pokemon that you can actually capture. This one has a story that goes along with it. It has an adventure. You capture your own Pokemon. You can trade from this game with the mainline games. This is not considered a actual mainline Pokemon game, even though you can interact with it with the main games. You can trade back and forth with it. So that's sort of what I think is why this came about as it was, and why it's so different from what came before and some of what comes after it, just to sort of fill in that need for what Pokemon you can get, and so you could capture them all. With that, we will dive right into it. You have the title screen here. You've got your main characters, and you got the main Pokemon you got. It's really cool. I will start with the menu before I really dive into it. So this is story mode, new game, plus a new game and continue. The battle mode, and this is sort of the Colosseum-esque features here. There's no mini games like there were in the other two, and that's a big detriment to some people. But this is where you register your games from the Game Boy Advance games, from Ruby and Sapphire, and I think you can do all the others as well, but they'll just appear as the Ruby and Sapphire sprites because that's all that was made at the time. To do that, with the N64, there was that little attachment Richard was talking about, where you plug it into the controller and you can plug in your cartridge. This you need a link cable from your Game Boy Advance to the GameCube, and of course I have that peripheral. I had all the peripherals that came on, and this was actually the first Pokemon game that got me to buy the GameCube. Or I guess the game that was like, I need to have a GameCube so I can play this awesome new Pokemon game. Colosseum Battle, that's just the standard battle. Mount Battle, so I'll talk about that further on, but this is a series of 100 battles you do to try to get to the top of this mountain and do a boss fight, and this is the continue from that. In Poke Coupons, you get some like prizes every like 10 battles or something where you can get like items you could send in the game. So this is a rundown of the menu. I really didn't do all this stuff because I was focused on the story, the main campaign. So we start off, you get a nice desert view. This game is based on Arizona, is the idea. So it's all deserty, and this is a good introduction. You see a little Skarmory fly by. You get a little look into these. Yes, question.
Is that Skarmory going to be important later?
It will come up later.
Really?
Yes, it will come up later. It's deliberate. So you get like a bad guy's like headquarters, and then suddenly, boom! There's an explosion, and epic music starts to kick in right now. You get a quick zoom in of who's presumably the boss of this organization. You see at the explosion, it zooms in through the smoke, and there's this little there's this contraption of something that fits on an arm. And I'll see if I can sync up the video or not with this, but you get a view of the main character of the game, whose default name is Wes, which I'll call him that. He goes up to the snag machine, to the machine here, and he like does this creepy grin and he grabs it, and so they're storming out trying to get him. And Wes, with his trusty Umbreon, is like running out with the machine as well. Hops in his sick one-wheeled motorcycle with an Espeon in the carriage there. And he zooms out right as the bad guys are about to catch him, and he sets off, he clicks a button, and shoots off another explosion in there. So hopefully there's no one else in there when he blows off the second one. And he zooms away at this moment while triumphant music plays, and you actually see the Skarmory sort of fly towards it as well. So in my little headcanon, it's like at that point the Skarmory's like following you, which makes sense for something that appears in just a little bit. But that's the opening scene. It is the sickest like Pokemon cutscene of all time. It's super cool. So that sets the tone early. You zoom through your one-wheeled motorcycle to the outskirts stands. It's just like train, obviously, without like wheels and stuff, so it's just like stationary there. And now it's this like stand. There's like harmonica music that plays during this, so it really sets the tone here. When you're getting there, you're immediately greeted by these two thugs who are talking about something, and you see this bag in the back of their truck, and it's like squirming around and stuff. So you don't really know what's going on with that, and they drive away. One of the things that occurs in this game that is to deliver news of what's happening in the world, even though you're often who's responsible for it. You get these like news flashes and stuff, and it sort of explains what happened. The Team Snag'em hideout is what was destroyed, and you blew it up, and everyone was gone by the time authorities got to there. Yes.
Are Team Snag'em kidnappers?
We'll talk about what Team Snag'em's goal is in a little bit, but it's certainly not like a good name. That doesn't imply the best of intentions with them. So this is just, I included this to just sort of give the aesthetic of the building, and this is what the aesthetic of a lot of these towns look like. Very like Western almost, and in this sort of RPG style of like early 2000s. So you get in your first battle, it's like Drifter Willy or something. And this is sort of to give a tutorial of what is going on. You'll notice immediately that you're battling with two Pokemon. At the time, Ruby and Sapphire was the first to introduce this, and Pokemon Colosseum pushes that heavily because every single battle in Pokemon Colosseum is a double battle. Yes.
Do your characters really start at levels 28 and 25?
Yes, you start with the Espeon and Umbreon that you saw in the cutscene, and they start at this level. So I think this is the highest level that you start out with in any Pokemon game. So, you know, the level curve is already pretty high, the highest of, I guess, anything that I could think of. And this is just to sort of get you introduced. The Espeon and Umbreon are very strong at the beginning, and probably throughout the whole game too. But so you have that, and this is just to sort of give the tutorial for that. Eventually you make your way to Phoenix City, and there's like tranquil like harp music. You have a question?
Yeah. Do you have access to a world map at this point?
You do. It only shows you the locations that you can go to if they talk about it. Where I think like after the battle it was like, oh, you should go to Phoenix City and learn from that. I forget exactly what the plot reason is to go there. Yes.
You said this is Arizona. Does Phoenix City line up with Phoenix?
It could be. It's sort of this like oasis in the middle of the desert. So this is like the one town that actually has an like abundance of water. You can see there's water flowing all around, whereas pretty much everywhere else is just there's sand everywhere, and it's all kind of run down and stuff. Much like Arizona, I assume. I've only been to the airport in Arizona, but Phoenix City. So at the very beginning, you see these thugs once again. They've made their way here, and they're carrying this bag. They're talking about how it's like squirming around and such, and you're like, oh, what's the deal with this? And there's actually some like pedestrians as well that notice it, but you have to battle them because they're like, oh, you saw what we're doing, and so you battle them. Eventually, there's other people that come along, so they kind of just flee at this point. And you open up the bag. Yes.
What Pokemon did they have?
I don't remember what Pokemon they had. I will talk very scantly about some of the Pokemon some people have. But for the most part, it doesn't matter that much. Especially them. They're like the second battle you have in the whole game. So I don't remember exactly what they have. Something pretty easy to beat. So you open up the squirming bag, and there's a person inside. Her name is Rui. You can actually name her, you can name yourself, and you can name them. But that's the default name for her, yes.
Is the palm frond clipping through that lady's hair?
Kind of looks like it.
Might be. There's a lot of like jank, especially in this first Colosseum game. The second one's a bit more polished up, because it's based on the same foundation and stuff. But,
same 3D models.
Yes, but in this one you could really, and I've got a couple parts where I point out some of the jank that goes along with it. But that wouldn't surprise me if it was that's going on there. But you meet her, and she says that the reason she was kidnapped was because she can see these Pokemon with these special auras, and they could like attack people, which is unusual. So they kidnapped her for that, and she's like, "Can I come along with you?" And she becomes your companion for the entirety of the game. Here she is asking if she'll go along with you. And she does like follow along with you. She does one of those things that some games have, where if you have a follower, you can just like push them around, or they'll like, you have to physically move them out of your way to get around them. Yes.
If you say no, you just miss out on her for the rest of the game.
So this game, and much like any Pokemon game, if it'll ask you a question, your choice doesn't really matter. There'll be some dialogue where she'll be like, "Oh, please, can I join up?" And it'll keep asking the question until you say yes. So the choice does not matter. She will be with you no matter what. So you are going to the mayor of Phoenix City to try to get him to investigate. And outside of the mayor house comes this mysterious figure who has a very interesting design that is very unlike, and he has like red eyes too. So very interesting encounter outside of the mayor's house. But you go in and you meet S. Cade, the mayor of Phoenix City. Yes, question?
Does this game predate Kingdom Hearts?
This game is after Kingdom Hearts. This game came out in 2003 in the Japan and 2004 in the United States.
Makes
So.
that character's design a little suspicious.
Yes, so I'm sure there's it's very much like Riku from the first Kingdom Hearts game. It takes a lot of liberties from, I think some of the specific inspiration was Final Fantasy and like the early Persona games, the ones that no one knows about.
Disney maybe too.
Yeah, and Kingdom Hearts, which is basically Final Fantasy, so, that's probably, a lot of inspiration there, but. So you go to the mayor of Phoenix City. He's like, and Rui's like, oh, and Pokemon would attack people. And like, this is kind of like a big, yes, question.
Does the mayor do Poke battles too? Does everyone do Pokemon battles? Or is
Not
he just
everyone
kinda
does
live here?
Pokemon battles. I would say in every single Pokemon game, that's sort of uncommon, which is kind of weird because
They're everywhere.
they're everywhere and it's kind of easy to do. But no, as far as we know, he doesn't do Pokemon battles.
Damn.
So Rui says that these Pokemon with these like shadowy auras, that everyone can see like the Pokemon, but they can't see like the auras. But these Pokemon can attack people, and it's kind of like a big deal. But as early as the Pokemon Generation 2, and probably earlier, even the good guys attack bad guys with their Pokemon. So it's hyped up as a big deal in this one. But I immediately can think of Lance's Dragonite using Hyper Beam on some people in a small building. I'm pretty sure that's not a Shadow Pokemon. But so SK's like, yeah, okay, well, I'm not really sure about this, but I will do an investigation since you were like kidnapped about this. In the meantime, you should check out our stadium. We have a Colosseum in our town that you should check out. And I included this because in the upstairs part of the mayor's house, there's this woman, and there's no explanation as to why she's there. But she's there, a much younger woman than the mayor, yes.
Why do you think she's there?
Well, I think it's kind of obvious to the adult mind as to what the mayor's doing with this woman. But do you have a question?
I was just gonna say, is it that weird that the mayor would have a wife or daughter living in his house?
It doesn't say that. We have no idea who this is. She's not like, oh yeah, I'm the mayor's wife. She's just a random woman NPC in like a business suit, just hanging out there. So, yes.
Do you happen to remember her dialogue at all?
She says nothing like related
I
at
see.
all. So I think she talks about like the town or something. It's very strange. Yes.
Are the TVs ever tuned to anything except that one news channel?
No, they're always to that news channel. It's in the first game, I
Oh.
should say. In the second game, they talk about other things. But so you go check out the Colosseum, and it's closed. So they're closed today. They've already started registration, so you can't challenge it. But this is what it looks like. You don't have to do this at any point in the story. But this is what this Colosseum looks like. So as you're leaving the Phoenix Colosseum, members of Team Snag'em come out and confront you. This is what I was talking about, that Scar and Ree might have been following you. That's how they knew. I don't know if this is the case, but at least that's the implication to me. And they come out and they tell Rui, while they're talking to you, that you were a member of Team Snag'em. You were one of the best members, but you decided to go rogue for some reason and steal their snag machine, the little thing on his arm, which is capable of stealing Pokemon from trainers.
Oh.
So, for some reason, there's no... Yes?
Why can't you just throw a ball at them? I thought the reason you couldn't in the games is because they're like, that's rude.
It is rude, and I'm not sure what the early explanation is, but you don't capture normal Pokemon. I guess because you're a good guy now. There's no real story behind why Wes would have done this, would have betrayed the team, and I think that's part of the appeal. There's a lot of, you can fill in the blanks yourself as a kid and be like, oh man, this is so cool, even though it doesn't really give you anything for why any of this would have happened. So they tell her this, and you actually have the chance, like a yes/no selection. She's like, "Were you really in Team Snag'em?" And you could just like lie to her. But then she'll be like, "Well, no, you're obviously just joking with me." Or something. So they challenge you to a battle, and you beat them. And this is the last time you'll see Team Snag'em for a very long time in the game. You go to the outskirts stand. You have this machine that is capable of capturing Pokemon, so you need to get Pokeballs. The thing about the region, the Orre region is what this is called, this deserty region, is that it's so inhospitable that there's so few Pokemon that people don't really have a need for Pokeballs because there's not like any wild Pokemon. Even though, tons of trainers have Pokemon and stuff, so I guess they just moved in or something. Yes.
Why does he need Pokeballs if he can just snag them with his arm?
You need you still need a Pokeball to capture Pokemon. I guess the explanation in this game is that normally if someone already has a Pokemon captured, it won't work. But because you have the snag machine and you throw a Pokeball, you can capture Pokemon. So you go and get some Pokeballs, and I think he sells you like 5, like the standard, like every game does, gives you 5 Pokeballs. And here you go to the mayor's house in Fnac City, and you're greeted by 2 of the thugs, and of course, Mirror B here, who is the head thug of these guys, and he confronts you, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're the person who's been disrupting me, and you're the girl who can see this stuff, and we tried to kidnap." So. Again, with sort of like the grittier tone and stuff, there are just like hard crimes that people commit. Like they're gonna try to kidnap you. There's explosions, like terrorism sort of thing at the beginning that your character does. And he's just like, all right, so you gotta go capture this. And whenever he like walks in and out of places, it plays that theme music that I played at the very beginning. A very interesting and unique sounding theme. And there's these 3 thugs right here. I'll explain, I guess, in just a second. But they like guard the exits to try to prevent you from leaving as well. So you have his 2 thugs, Folly and Trudley, I think. Yes, Trudley and Folly. I forget which one's which. And you got to battle them. Again, you battle the first guy and you battle the second guy, and there's this zoom in that Rui does, and she sees this Pokemon with this strange aura. And it does the attack animation, and it actually punches you right here. And she's like, that's the Pokemon I saw, and that's the reason they kidnapped me. So this is a Shadow Pokemon here. And an explanation as to Shadow Pokemon real quick. What it is their main attack is Shadow Rush. It's not super effective against anything, and all the Shadow Pokemon have this. This is the only Shadow Pokemon move in this game, and all of them have it. They could use some of their regular moves. What it is when you capture one of these Pokemon is that they have this little bar here. And to make them not Shadow Pokemon anymore, you get the bar down to 0 and you do a special action. That we'll talk about later. But until then, they're locked at a certain level. So they will gain experience, but they won't level up if you capture them. So you do capture this Makuhita right here, and these are the only Shadow Pokemon that you capture, that the game allows you to. Yes?
Did the other 2 thugs not have Shadow Pokemon? They just had normal guys?
So you battle one of these guys again, and then you battle... I think him is who you battled at the beginning. You battle him again, and then you battle that guy, and only he has a Shadow Pokemon.
Okay, so they don't all exclusively use Shadow Pokemon?
No. In this game, only everyone has only one Shadow Pokemon.
Okay.
Yes, question.
What's the advantage to using a shadow Pokemon, especially if they're locked at level 18?
Well, that was from an earlier build of the game. This one is at this is at level 30. This was probably captured from like an early demo or something of the game. So they're more aggressive. They're supposedly stronger. Shadow Rush isn't that good of a move, but that's the implication. And they could like attack people, so I guess you could commit crimes with them and such. So you capture this, or you don't. You could knock it out and just not capture it. But that's how you acquire Pokemon in this game. It's the only way to acquire Pokemon in this game. There are no wild Pokemon. You only have your SP on a number down at the beginning. So you can only capture the Shadow Pokemon, and there's a very limited roster of Pokemon you could actually attain in this game. Yes.
So it won't let you catch the normal Pokemon that you fight, only
No.
the Shadow ones?
Only Shadow ones, because you're a good guy. You don't want to capture regular Pokemon.
I don't see the difference if you're fighting a thug.
Well, the Shadow Pokemon are evil, and you need to capture them to save them because it's bad to make them Shadow Pokemon. So
Okay.
That's why you do that. Let me see if there's anything else I was missing about Shadow Pokemon. In battle, sometimes they'll enter this thing called Hyper Mode, which it allows Shadow Rush to get like critical hits, but in order to lower this bar, you have to do an action called Call. I don't know if I have a slide that shows that, but there's a fourth action where you can just like call out the Pokemon's name, and it'll snap it out of Hyper Mode, and it'll lower this gauge down quite a bit. And there's a way to purify them to make them not Shadow Pokemon to get them that experience, but you don't get that for a while. So you can capture these Pokemon, and they're kind of stuck at the level for up to a certain part of the game. So these three people, these grunts, I don't know exactly when they say this, but this is a different team called Team Cypher. And they all look similar to this. They don't have the colorful uniforms, but surrounding Phoenix City's 3 exits, there's a green, there's a blue, and there's a red. And that corresponds with the Shadow Pokemon they have. The green has a Bayleaf, the blue has a Croconaw, and the red has a Quilava. And this is sort of where you can see the need to of what this game is trying to do to fill in the Pokédex. In Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, you can't capture the Johto Pokemon. And that's the same in Fire Red and Leaf Green. In order to do that for a while, this is like the most surefire way to do that, to fill out the Pokédex. So there's a lot of very specifically Johto Pokemon that you can capture in this game because that's sort of the gap. And, you could sort of map out what kind of Pokemon you want to have with your adventure for a while, which starter to have. So you battle that. In the middle of this gym, in the middle of this city, there's like a pre-gym. It's the only really gym that exists in this whole region. And this is the gym leader, Justin. You can't battle him at this point, but you could battle through all the trainers. And this is sort of the gym for it. So I forget the story reason again that you go here. I think you just stumble upon this area, or you could go to it suddenly. But this is Real Gam Tower, and you can see that it's currently under construction, so you can't really go anywhere except for the entrance. Yes, Cliff.
I can't remember if this is correct, but you can only get one of those starters.
You can only get one of them. You can't get all three. So once you battle one, the other two go off. Yes.
Did you say they start in their final evolution too?
They start in their second evolution. So they're at level 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's the middle stages of the Johto starters. So you go there very quick, and then you go to Pyrite City. This is probably like the most iconic location of the Orre games. There's this like snapping music that plays, and it's very like run down like a crime-ridden area. And the first thing you see is this police officer talking to this guy. He's like, "You commit any crimes or something?" He's like, "No, of course not." So the police officer walked away, and he's like, "Sucker." So that's your introduction to Pyrite Town. You go through several of the buildings. You go to the police station. You see Officer Johnson talking to the chief. And you start to hear the rumor about the shadow Pokemon, the people witnessing strange Pokemon that are able to like attack people and stuff. Here you can get a sneak peek of the guy who you saw at the beginning of the cutscene, Gonzak, who's Team Snag'em You might see later in the game. But you see like a wanted poster, and I think you can read all 3 of those, but that's who that is. You see Trudley and Folly have been locked up in jail. I think they they're like hiding out from Mirror B here. They're like, we messed up this thing in Fnac City, so we're just gonna hide out in here. You learn from talking with several of the NPCs that like Mirror B is the guy who runs this town and is like doing bad things with it. So here you meet the mayor of the Pyrite town, this big muscular guy with a mustache. You can talk with him a little bit. You see here there's this bookcase and there's a little boy that's standing in front of it. You could like push a button and talk with these little kids here. I don't remember any of their names, but they're all like vaguely important to the story. They are the Kids Grid, and they will help you out with stuff. But here you just like talk with them for the first time. And when you go out of the secret entrance, you see a confrontation with the mayor, Duking, and Silva, which is like his assistant or something. And he's asking Duking to do something about the shadow Pokemon and stuff that are infiltrating, that are peripheralating the town. And Duking kind of turns his head. He's like, Silva's like, well, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and runs off. So, a little ominous there. Here is where Rui was kidnapped. She says this is where she saw the shadow Pokemon. And each of these trainers around here each have a shadow Pokemon that you can battle and capture. And sort of build your team, because that's the only way to do it. So eventually, you're told to talk to this guy, Kale, who's like, he acquired the shadow Pokemon, and you're trying to figure out how these shadow Pokemon are getting distributed. So he has like a shadow Furret, and it's like level 33, which is like the strongest shadow Pokemon that you see up to this point. And he tells you that they're getting distributed to the winners of the Pyrite Colosseum. And then it zooms into this building right here, which is close to the Colosseum, which is right there. It zooms into this building right here, and you see a discussion with Mirror B and the guy who you saw leaving the mayor's house. I don't know if you learned his name at this point or in a different cutscene similar to this, but his name is Nascor. And he is presumably the leader of Cypher. So, and they just kind of talk about the plan and stuff. And Mirror B says that he's just going to practice dancing in his cave, because that's what he likes to do. So, as you're going to the Colosseum, you see this guy like stumble out and fall to the ground. You're like, oh, I wonder what that is. So you go into that building there, and you talk to this guy, and he's like, Silva came in, beat us up, and stole the gears so we can't power the Colosseum. So, pretty drastic action there. You end up going back to Real Gam Tower, and you find like a gear or something. Not that important. So then you go to the Pyrite Colosseum, you battle it. You do like 4 different battles. No one in here has the shadow Pokemon, but at the end, after you beat it, a Cypher Grunt comes up to you and is like, oh, Mirror B wants to give you a gift, a shadow Pokemon. So he takes you into that mysterious building there that was previously locked. They let you in, and she's like, oh, you idiot. These are the people who are causing trouble for us. So they battle you. And I think they have shadow Pokemon too. You see here this little object that stands out and it like glints a little bit. These are called the Ein Files. Written by this person named Ein, talks about what shadow Pokemon do, and I guess give you a quick gist of what they do and how they were created and stuff. So you beat them. Duking comes in along with his kids, I think. I'm not sure what his relation is, but so here you learn that you tell Duking, because he didn't know exactly what was going on, you tell him that they were giving out shadow Pokemon to the winners of the Colosseum. And he's like, well, I can't do anything because Mirror B kidnapped one of my Pokemon and is holding it hostage. So he's like, but I'll give you free blessing to go through. Yes.
Do you need to be a shadow person to hurt a Pokemon?
I think you could just hurt Pokemon normally. I think that's as early as like Red and Blue, when like the Team Rocket sprites have like whips. That's the implication. So I think you could always hurt Pokemon as a human, but the rules for Pokemon hurting people is a little dodgy. So he's like, go fight Mirror B. You go through this whole building. It's like 3 stories. It's all kind of run down like this. You can see a little PC here and There's a little like heal station. One of the things that's also different is that there's not like any Pokemon centers really around. The only Pokemon center is back in Fnac City. Otherwise, there's just these like heal stations, and there's like a hotel in Pyrite that you have to pay money for that will heal you. So, you go through, you get all the way to the top, you get to this building where you saw the cutscene, and you see the two female lackeys whose names I don't remember. They've beaten up Silva. He has not been able to do anything to thwart them. So they beat him up, and I think they beat him in Pokemon Battle too. So you battle them. They each have a shadow Pokemon. I think it's like a Mantine and a Remoraid that you can catch here. So you battle them, you beat them, and then the TV comes on, and Mirror B is like, you can come get me in the cave that is like right here. This building is like built on like the side of like this huge like semi-mountain, and you go to the you go in there to try to get him. And so that's that. And Silva's like, I'm too injured, so he'll just like lay here, injured for a while. So you go all the way through the cave. There's some shadow Pokemon, not that important. Eventually, you get to Mirror B's room, where you could hear his theme song playing, and you could see a bunch of Ludicolo dancing around him. And he does a little dance number, and then he battles you, and his battle theme is the same music that his theme song is, so that plays throughout the whole battle. An interesting thing about Colosseum, even more so than its successor, is that there's some strategies that the bosses have. So he has obviously the 4 Ludicolo that he had in there, and their strategy is to do like Leech Seed and Rain Dance and stuff, and just kind of like stall you out and wither you down. And since you have a bunch of shadow Pokemon that haven't been able to level and are at the levels that you captured them, this could be kind of a hard fight. So he has the 4 Ludicolo, and then he has a Shadow Sudowoodo. A little ironic that his 4 Pokemon are dancers, and this one is a Pokemon that is known for standing so still that people think it's a tree. And it's like level 35, which is stronger than like anything you'll have at this point. So it's kind of a tough boss. Eventually you beat him, he runs off, and you see in the back room you find Duking's Plusle. So you thwart Mirror B, you save the town, you thwart the Shadow Pokemon operation. Duking actually gives you the chance, he's like, Plusle's really bonded with you and wants to help you out on your adventure. So you could actually recruit the Plusle to your team. And it's not a Shadow Pokemon, it's super weak, so it's not particularly useful. Yes?
Can you ever get a Minun to go with
You
them?
can never get a Minun.
What?
I'll talk about it a little bit later, but there's some like files in the game that talk about like shadow Pokemon that ended up not making the roster, and a Shadow Minun is one of the Pokemon that didn't make it. So it would have made a lot of sense. Especially they have an ability that like makes them stronger if you do like a double battle with them. Mm-hmm. It's very gimmicky for the generation that double battles were introduced, but they do not give you a Minun. So you can use a Plusle, or you could like do what most people do and just put it in the box. This fortune teller says that like the town's cleaner now because of the action you did, and she talks about like this foresty village, and you're like, oh yeah, that's where her grandfather lives. So you go there. And I included it here because I noticed it for the first time. Whenever you go to like a different town, it shows your character driving on the one-wheeled motorcycle with Rui in the sidecar. So it's a very cool transition. You get to a gate village where Rui's grandfather lives, and specifically this house that is in the roots of like a tree. So you go in, you talk to Egan. He's like one of the greatest like Pokemon trainers of all time or something. A dubious claim, which we'll find out in about a minute or two. But you hear like there's this trouble at the Relic Stone, which is one of the things you're here for as well. So you go, you battle some Cypher Grunts, and you go to the Relic Stone where you meet this Grunt here. He's got a slightly distinctive uniform from the other ones. His name is Scrub. So it shows a battle, him against Egan, against his Pikachu right there. That's like level 50 versus his Shadow Hitmontop there. That's only level 38. And he manages to beat Egan at this point. So then you have to battle him, and you capture the Hitmontop. So this is kind of like the last like big battle before you could finally purify your Pokemon from being Shadow Pokemon. If you go to the stone right here, and the gauge is all the way at 0, you could come here, purify your Pokemon. They get all the experience that they missed, and they can actually level up and like evolve at this point. So this is sort of where the game opens up a little bit more. It becomes a bit easier that you don't have to battle with default level Shadow Pokemon. That's not to say that it gets easy at this point. It's still a very hard game, but it gets a little bit better at this point. So you can purify probably most of your team at this point can be purified. And you hear about this disturbance at Mount Battle. You get this little cutscene here. At the very top of the volcano all the way to here at the base. So you go there, Cypher's causing a bunch of mischief. It's a very straightforward dungeon where there's just these like platforms that are kind of floating over this ravine, and you gotta battle 9 trainers up to the boss at this point. His name is Dakim, and he punches the guy who's standing at the 10th platform. He's like, "You didn't even give me a chance to battle you." He literally just punches him and knocks him out. But he gives you the chance to battle him, thankfully. So Cypher admin Dakin, Amirbi is an admin of Cypher as well, the semi-bosses of the organization. And his strategy is he has like a bunch of ground types that alternate between like Protect and Earthquake, which damages the whole field. So he'll protect one Pokemon so it doesn't get hit by the Earthquake of the other Pokemon. That's sort of the strategy here. And he has a Shadow Entei.
Whoa!
This is the first time up to this point that any non-U trainer has had a legendary Pokemon. And he has a Shadow Pokemon that you could capture. That's at like level 40, so it's pretty strong. And it's tough to capture too because it's got like the normal catch rate of the games. So eventually you do, or you don't. You have the option of knocking out all these Pokemon, all the Shadow Pokemon. I think most of them you can rebattle the trainer later at some point. I think there are some missile ones in this game though. So the Entei would make a strong addition if you capture it or not. They flee at this point, and he leaves. I forget what he leaves there, but he leaves something. And the reason they were attacking Mount Battle is because this guy had a Time Flute, which is valuable to Cypher's plans. What the Time Flute does is it'll purify any Shadow Pokemon instantly. It doesn't matter if their gauge is empty or not. And what happens if you use the Time Flute is there's this little Celebi that comes from time somewhere and purifies the heart of it.
Whoa.
Now, in the Japanese version of Pokemon Colosseum, if you pre-ordered it, you would get a bonus disc that would give you Celebi. And this is quite valuable, this particular disc. In the North American ones, we didn't get Celebi. So instead, we got Jirachi. And it's sort of the same thing. You could see this is the cover of the North American bonus disc. It had a preview, which is a very lame trailer. A sneak peek for the movie that Jirachi was going to be in, and that's why you could get Jirachi from this. And it would send you Jirachi to your GBA games. So for a long time, these were the only 2 ways to legitimately get Celebi and Jirachi, and they were locked by different geographies. Celebi, I think you can get now from the Virtual Console Generation 2 games. They added an event, but Jirachi, I think this might still be the only way to legally obtain it, except for like a giveaway or something. Yes.
If you still have these bonus discs, will they still work?
It's infinite use. So I think it's only once per copy of your game. It can only send a Jirachi one time, but you could keep sending Jirachis to different games.
What?
And this particular bonus disc is actually, I think, like hundreds of dollars. Much more expensive than the actual Pokemon Colosseum. Even though the features are incredibly limited and it's just to get the Jirachi. So, yes.
So were there like gangs back in the day that would pass one of these discs around so they could all get the Pokemon?
I'm sure there were. I never got one of these because I didn't know about the whole pre-order thing. So I never got Jirachi this way, but I know, I'm sure there were. You know, some kid was lucky to pre-order it. Maybe they didn't even know at the time. You know, it's just like, oh, this pre-order thing for this Pokemon that maybe we could eventually get, and then just never was able to get it. So I'm sure there were, to answer your question. Yes?
I want to say that the item that Dakim dropped was a disc, like a data disc.
Oh, it was a UFO disc.
That's it. Yeah.
And we'll talk about the UFO thing in just a little bit. Yes. So he drops you a UFO disc. At this point, you hear about this mysterious lab. It is blocked off by lasers, so you can't enter it at this point, but you can go here and see it for the first time. You go back to Pyrite Town, you see the two gang members that beat up Silva, and you can actually see at this point, at some point, you acquire the jail key, so you can open up the jail cells, and sometimes NPCs will be like, hey, thanks for letting me out of this jail cell. So you hear that these two people were specifically trying to enter the abandoned building that you were at before, where Mirror B's, that was on the side of the mountain. And you're like, well, I wonder what that's all about. You can go back all the way to Mirror B's room in the cave, and you can fight this optional boss called Miracle B. And he has a remix of Mirror B's theme that is like higher pitched and faster. So it's kind of insane and completely optional. You have to go way out of your way to fight this guy. Yes.
Does he still use a bunch of Ludicolo?
He does not. I think he uses a Lombre, but he doesn't have like any Ludicolos. And he doesn't have any Shadow Pokemon either. So there's no like reason except to see the insanity of this guy. Yes.
Is it implied that this is Mirror B, but with like a different map?
This is some Cypher grunt that really idolizes Mirror B and wants to be a lot like him. So he doesn't have the fro, much like I don't.
It's
And
you!
It is kind of me, yeah. I think mine, if it would stay upright, is a little better than his little helmet thing. So you could go back here, and at this point you could fight Justy. It unlocks at this point. So he's about at level 40 at this point. I'm about at the level that you caught the Entei at. I should mention that the level, you will always be like under level throughout the entire game. Even with, it's noticeable, especially with the Shadow Pokemon that can't level up, but even once you can, you'll still just always be under leveled. And there's very few ways to like legitimately grind in this game. So it's pretty tough. I should say relatively, still a Pokemon game. But so you gain access to the elevator here. I forget exactly how it is, but this is what those two grunts, or the two thugs, were trying to go to. So you get this key and you go to this underground city that's under Pyrite Town. That's in specifically, like, there's this like cavern, and this is the cavern here. It keeps going. There's a town underneath it all. Super shady. And you get a broadcast, a special broadcast that's different from your normal one, from this lady called Venus, who's the next Cypher admin. And she basically, at this point, alerts the town that, hey, there's these spies that are coming in, so watch out for them. And all the people of the town will be, like, suspicious of, oh, there's these spies coming around. You gotta watch out for that. You get a cutscene, again, with Venus and Ein, who's the third Cypher admin, talking with Nascor. And they talk about how the ultimate Shadow Pokemon is getting developed, yes.
Is this the same Ein that left the Ein files laying around?
This is the same Ein. He's the one who makes all the Shadow Pokemon. So they talk about that, and there's a cutscene of him like leaving back to the lab that was all like laser guarded. You meet the second sect of the Kids Grid. So there's some in Pyrite Town and there's some in the end, and they'll like help you out with like finding Shadow Pokemon and stuff. Eventually, you hear there's a news broadcast that's like, we've caught the spy, we figured it out, and they capture Silva, who's come to the Under and is like immediately captured. So you battle these two Cypher grunts. I don't think you can free Silva at this point. They like keep him in like a pin here that you could like talk to him, but his hands are like bound behind him. So they think they've captured the spy. There's this little like UFO, that's what they call it, that can cross this little ravine. And depending on what disc you have, you can go in different directions. You can go to here, or you can go to the left here, or you can go to the right here, or you can go up and down. To get to Venus, you need to go specifically to get to the right one. And I forget how you do that. This is the Colosseum. If you go forward here, you can go into this building. And this is what it looks like. Again, completely optional. You do not have to play this Colosseum to beat the game. Yes.
So the UFO is just a hover pad that they own and control?
Yes. and I guess it's public use if you have the know-how to do that. So that's the Colosseum. Eventually you get the UFO R disc, which goes to the right, which gets you to the broadcast area with Venus, and you can fight her. Her main strategy is like using Attract on your Pokemon, which is a move that infatuates them and makes it sometimes they can't attack it. I forget if there's any other strategy behind that, except for that. But she has a Shadow Suicune that you can get. So you can capture a Suicune here. It's at level 40, same as Entei. So it's a little weaker at this point than the Entei was because your Pokemon have gotten a little bit stronger. So you beat her, and she does this dramatic. There's this cutscene of her leaving through this elevator, and if you come to the store, the elevator's locked. So you have to go walk all the way down the stairs, several different levels, and there's like a bunch of trainers there that have Shadow Pokemon. So you get to the bottom, and there's this little subway that connects to the Shadow Pokemon Lab, and she gives you a little like rope-a-dope, and like tries to escape, and she's like, haha, I didn't give you the train key to the Shadow Pokemon lair, but you take like 2 steps out and you see a shiny thing on the ground, and it's the key to the subway. So they didn't really think of a good way to give you the game. She just drops it because she's stupid. So you get the key to the subway, which will take you underground all the way to the Shadow Pokemon lair. And this is a little cutscene. It's like a hover train. So there's kind of like sci-fi steampunk like elements in addition to like the gritty nature of it all. So you get to the Shadow Pokemon there, and they're like, oh shit, we can't let you get into the building, so we're just going to blow up this whole room and make it so you can't enter here. But then there's like a shiny thing like right there that's the key to deactivate the lasers to the lab. So they got kind of lazy here, I think, in getting you from point A to point B. People just drop things, and it allows you to get exactly where you need to go. So you get inside the lab. At this point, you go through. There's tons of people with Shadow Pokemon. Eventually, you fight this one scientist who'd be like, "Oh, well, there's this intruder, so I'm gonna click this button and I'm gonna activate this alarm." And it turns the room red, and there's this blaring alarm that's going off constantly, and there's no way to turn it off until you beat it. So eventually, you find Ein. There's like this puzzle with like DNA where you try to match DNA with different Pokemon, and I think there's some of the Shadow Pokemon you get. So you battle Ein, and his strategy is he does Rain Dance, which summons the weather Rain, and he has Pokemon that can use Thunder. And in Rain, that has 100% accuracy, whereas it can miss without the Rain. So that's sort of his double battle strategy. And he has a Shadow Raikou, which is a level 40. So you could catch all 3 of the legendary beasts here in this game. And so you beat him, and that's it. And so he's like, the ultimate Shadow Pokemon has been developed. In this game, ultimate Shadow Pokemon is not super ultimate. They do a better job of hyping it up in the next game. So you get if you take the UFO north, I think, or something, you take this elevator north and you find out that Real Game Tower's been finished. So you go there, these security guards, there's these spinning like statues of Zudo-Wudo. And so it's like this like nice music, but as you go further along, it eventually turns into like the sinister music. And you have to battle all 4 of the Cypher admins again. They have stronger teams. If you've captured their Shadow Pokemon, they've replaced it, or they'll have the Shadow Pokemon that you didn't capture the first time around. The sad thing about this is this encounter with Mirror B, he does not play his theme music. He just plays like the normal Cypher admin theme, which is kind of like this like weird like circus music, almost. Is what I think. I think like you could create it very well with like a concert band. It plays in like minor key. It's interesting, but it's not Mirror B's theme. So it's a lame Mirror B battle by comparison, but. After you beat all 4 of the Cypher admins, there's nothing much to say about them because it just gives you a chance to recapture it. Their strategies are about the same as they were the first time. You get 4 of the keys so you can go through this secret building, and you get to the main lobby of the Colosseum. There's like other trainers here, so it's like interesting how they got here. Did they have to battle the Cypher admins too? I don't know. But this guy is Silva in disguise, and he's like the Cypher boss. It's waiting for you at the top. So you go, you take the elevator, and NASCAR is here, and he's like, well, I'll battle you at the very end, but you're going to have to go through a little bit of a gauntlet. So you go up the stairs, and Gonzap comes down from the elevator at the main top. So he's like, it's like, oh, Wes, it's been such a long time. You've forgotten that Team Snag'em was in this game, but here they are at the very end. He explains that Team Snag'em was actually working under Cypher. So Team Snag'em was capturing Pokemon, and Cypher was turning them into Shadow Pokemon. That was the relation there.
Oh.
So you battle Gonzap this time, and he has the Shadow Skarmory. The Skarmory that you saw at the very beginning of the game is a Shadow Pokemon here. So I included this because I thought the grammar was interesting. You've grown a lot better. That's what he says there. So you beat him, and he gives you an option to join Team Snag'em. Like every other choice in the game, this doesn't matter. He thinks you're like joking or something if you say yes. He doesn't give you the option to rejoin Team Snag'em. So you go to Realgam Colosseum. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And so there's this like huge crowd of people. Again, I don't know how they got there because there's one entrance to this place. I guess they got like VIP access, but there's this huge crowd of people, and you could like hear them like cheering and stuff. You take an elevator up, and you hear over like the intercom or something. NASCAR is like, it's great that you got here, but you're gonna have to work for it. So you have to battle like 4 trainers, and they all have Shadow Pokemon. So it's kind of like an Elite Four of sorts here at the very end. You battle them all consecutively, and you can't heal in between, so stock up on items. And at the very end, NASCAR comes out with this like ominous music, and there's like chanting and stuff. And he's like, oh, I didn't think you'd get this far. And he like says like, oh, you know, I would have offered you like the chance to be like a prize fighter here at the Colosseum for like this main attraction. But he's like, well, you screwed up too much of our plans, so I'm gonna have to defeat you here. So you battle Cypher NASCAR. Interesting thing about this boss is there's no music at all. It's just like cheering from the crowd. And there's like sound effects of like the Pokemon battling. But there's no music at all. And you were talking about Blaziken earlier before the lecture started. He has a Blaziken as well.
Yeah, let's go!
He has a lot of like Hoenmons. I forget if he has like a specific battle, like a double battle strategy. But he has a Shadow Metagross. So you could capture it here. You defeat NASCAR, you may or may not capture his Metagross or not, and you hear someone else say, enough, don't embarrass yourself, NASCAR. So Rui's like, wait, I thought NASCAR was the big boss of Cypher. So the elevator rises up, and SK, the mayor of Phoenix City, is like, wow, this is a very interesting turn of events. I didn't think you would get this far. During the day, I'm the mayor of Phoenix City. At night, I am the main leader of Cypher. So he does a flip in the air, and he turns into the scary clown guy who's floating in the air. So he challenges you to a battle, Cypher Head Evice, and he does this like jumping up and down animation. Yes.
Is that why he had a woman in the attic?
I think that was unrelated.
How
Yes.
does he fly?
I don't know how he flies. I don't know why NASCAR's eyes are red, and I don't know why this guy flies. There's no... So they're all supposed to be humans, but it's also like, why is Dakim like 9 feet tall and can jump hundreds of feet? That's just because... That's just because that is how it is. So you battle Evice. He doesn't have too much... He uses like X items, which will boost one stat depending on what he uses. He also has this like kind of nasty strategy where he has like a Slowking and a Slaking, and he uses Skill Swap because Slaking has this really terrible ability. He gives it to the Slaking, or he gives it to the Slowking. So the Slaking is a super powerful mon that doesn't have a shitty ability and can just like wreck you with that. And the ultimate Shadow Pokemon you find out is a Shadow Tyranitar, which is level 55. It's the strongest Shadow Pokemon that you can acquire in the game. There's nothing too much else special besides that. So you can defeat Evice, capture the Shadow Tyranitar or not. So all the guys who've come and helped you out are like, oh, we're going to arrest you now, and we're going to take out Cypher. But he's like, well, we've got an escape plan. I've got this helicopter here, and we're going to escape. It looks like they're going to get away, but then suddenly this fireball comes out from the middle of the air and shoots the helicopter down, and it's Ho-Oh!
Whoa!
Ho-Oh, the rainbow bird, the legendary Pokemon, comes out and helps you. I don't know why Ho-Oh did this. There's no foreshadowing at all to this. Ho-Oh is not mentioned at any point prior to this, but it's come and helped you. It blew up the helicopter and it saved the day.
Is
Yes,
that Ho-Oh shadow, or does that...
it is a regular Ho-Oh.
But
And
it
we'll-
could still attack the people.
It attacked the helicopter, which had no people in it, so it's fine. Yes.
Did he know that?
I guess so. I guess Ho-Oh has good vision, so it blows up the helicopter, and they get arrested, and then the credits play, and so that is Pokemon Colosseum. There's like little vignettes of different shadow Pokemon along the way, and now we'll talk about the post game really quick. We'll blow through it because it's not that important. You get the Kids Grid people like help you out. They like identify shadow Pokemon that like tell you where it is. So there's a suspicious person in Pyrite. You go talk to them. You talk to Kale again, and you get to go to the Snag'em hideout for the first time. You can't access this area until the post game. So you go here. You can battle a bunch of people. I think a lot of the shadow Pokemon trainers that if you didn't capture their shadow Pokemon will reappear in this area. So you battled them. Really, I would say the big purpose of this is to battle the other two Cypher Grunts that you didn't get, so you can get the other two Johto Pokemon. And yes.
Are there other new shadow Pokemon in here, or is it just repeats and then the two?
There are a couple, and I'll talk about them. But
Okay.
it's mostly those two capturing any that you didn't get before. So go back to the Snag'em hideout. You can battle Gonzap at this point. Again, you can rebattle him. If you didn't capture the Shadow Skarmory, you can do that. You get access, after I think you do all that, you get access to the Deep Colosseum, which if you take that UFO and you go down even further, there's an even lower level. And there's a secret Colosseum that you can battle. All the Cypher admins, this is the third time, you can battle them. And here Mirror B has his theme music, so
good.
you can do that to perpetuity if you want. Battle them. And so the Deep Colosseum, there's this trainer at the very end. He has a shadow Pokemon. You battle him. He has a shadow Shuckle that is like level 20. And at this point, like the level that everyone else is at is like level 70 and stuff. So you just gotta capture this thing without hitting it because it'll probably die in one hit. So that's one of the post-game legendaries. After you've captured all of the shadow Pokemon up to this point, I think there's like 40 something. We'll talk the specifics at the end, but the last quest is there's this person who is attacking people with a shadow Pokemon, and he looks exactly like you. Yes.
Did you call Shuckle a legendary?
I didn't mean to, but it's not a legendary. It's a very weak Pokemon, especially in Colosseum.
He deserves to be legendary. I agree.
So someone's attacking people with shadow Pokemon that looks just like you. So you follow different leads and stuff. You talk to witnesses, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're nice, and you're not the person who attacked me." So eventually, you confront your imposter, someone who looks just like you. And you battle them, and they have like a Shadow Togetic. It's the last Shadow Pokemon of the game. And at the very end, they remove their disguise, and there's like a grunt. And this is the last bit. This is the last line of story in the whole game. He's just like, "Haha, your reputation is trashed," and that's it. There's no follow up. You don't really see any repercussions for this. Yes.
Is that not one of the first grunts you beat?
They all look like this.
Okay.
This is just a standard grunt.
Okay.
I forget his name is Fane.
Yeah.
That's his name. So there you go. So you could rebattle him if you missed the Togetic, and yes.
No, I probably haven't picked up on his character as much as you have actually playing this game. But is Wes the kind of person who would give a shit about his reputation?
Probably not. He seems to not really give much of a shit about anything.
That's what I thought.
He just goes through incredibly like the most personality you see from him is that opening cutscene with
With his
the
weird
like,
smile.
evil smile, yeah. After that, he's just basically a regular Pokemon protagonist. So that's the end of Pokemon Colosseum. A couple other things to wrap up. If you do there's 100 stations, so there's 100 trainers on Mount Battle. You ascend the mountain and there's like those levitating platforms and stuff. And at the very top at number 100, there's this kind of cool Colosseum with like cranes and lava and stuff. And here's another view of it. At the very top, there's this Egan recoloring. This is not Egan. This is just some other old man, and he has a strong team. And I mentioned at the very beginning, at the menu, there was like a Mount Battle selection. You can battle with like your Pokemon team from Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and all that, and import those teams and do Mount Battle as well. And if you capture all of the these are all the Shadow Pokemon that you can capture in this game. And I'll go through them real quick. So you got Makuhita, Bayleaf, Quagsire, Slugma, Skiploom, Flaffy, Noctowl, Mischievous, Furret, Yanma, Remoraid, Mantine, Quillfish, Metatite, Dunsparce, Swablu, Sudowoodo, Hitmontop, Entei, Suicune, Gligar, Stantler, Piloswine, Sneasel, Ampipom, Murkrow, Fortress, Aridos, Granbull, Vibrava, Raikou, Sunflora, Delibird, Heracross, Skarmory, Miltank, Absol, Houndoom, Tropius, Metagross, Tyranitar, Ledian, Quilava, Croconaw, Smeargle, Ursaring, Shuckle, and Togetic. Those are the only Pokemon, and the Plusle, and the Espeon and Umbreon. Those are the only Pokemon you could get in this game. So this is the entire roster of Shadow Pokemon. And if you capture, yes.
That's just for the story mode, though, right? Like, if you're just playing like the Colosseum modes of this game.
At the Colosseum modes, you can use your in-game Pokemon, or you can use your Ruby and Sapphire team. Import those into this game and battle with those.
But if you're not importing, you have to use stuff from the story mode.
Yes.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yes. So it's a very limited roster, and you can evolve these Pokemon, but this is it here. And if you capture all, do you have a question?
No, I was just thinking, like, you can only transfer Pokemon out of the game, right?
After you beat the story, you can trade between Ruby and Sapphire and this. So you can trade Pokemon into this game.
So you can't get everything here.
You can get everything. They do have everything modeled except for Deoxys. For some reason, I don't think that's in.
They could be bothered with the.
I guess so, or maybe it wasn't made at this point. Yes.
Is there a mechanic for shinies in this game?
Yes, you can capture shinies. I remember there's this one video of this guy who there's a special type of shiny you can get where like instead of like stars they're like diamonds or something, and you can use like RNG manipulation to get this. So this person captured every single Shadow Pokemon that was this particular type of shiny, and it took him like months and months of time, but it is possible to capture them all as shiny as well. Yes, Laura.
If you transfer them to the main games, do they keep the special shininess factor, or do they just get back?
I think they do. I think that is in there. Yes.
That was gonna be my question.
Okay. Yes.
Can you grind for shinies? Because it's a one-time catch.
You can. You'd have to restart the battle, or like do it in the post game.
That makes sense.
Actually, I don't know if they can become shiny after not. I think you just have to do it after the first encounter. You just have to restart and.
Okay.
And sometimes they don't lead with the Shadow Pokemon, so you got to battle through their team to get to the Shadow Pokemon. So I'm sure it's a pain in the ass, but if you capture all and I think you have to purify them too. If you capture and purify all the Shadow Pokemon, you beat Mount Battle in the in-game version, and then you do it with like an imported team or something, the game will give you the Ho-Oh.
Oh!
So this is, until Pokemon Heart Gold, the only way to obtain a Ho-Oh generation, and I guess generation 3. So it is possible. It is, you do have to go through all these trials and stuff to get this. But, so there you go. You get Ho-Oh. A couple other things at the very end. This game did have e-reader functionality. Does anyone know what the e-reader is?
It's the thing where you like swipe the card.
Yes. So like you can like hook in your like games and stuff, and if you have like a special card, you can swipe them in. I only know of them having like functionality with Pokemon, and they like this thing sold very poorly and they like discontinued it very quickly. But I actually do have an e-reader. I should have brought it in, but I have no idea exactly where it is. Yes.
What cards are you swiping? Are you swiping Pokemon cards?
They give you... I think there were some Pokemon cards you could swipe in. There were also like special event cards. I have included here, there are 3 e-reader shadow Pokemon. They don't count towards the Ho-Oh total because they're so hard to get. But you can get a Shadow Togepi, you can get a Shadow Mareep, and you can get a Shadow Scizor using this thing. And I think that's about it in terms of what the e-reader can do. There's limited functionalities. They were like, oh, we'll figure them out later. Some of the mainline Pokemon games have like holdovers as well from like that will eventually include e-reader functionality, and it just never became anything. So, so that's the e-reader. There's actually 2 Pokemon Colosseum mangas. There's only 3 chapters, and I think both of them, so it only goes very early on. But should mention that I think it follows very closely to, and it's by the same artist. They're just in different publications. So there are Pokemon Colosseum mangas, very very short ones that don't cover the whole thing. So that is Pokemon Colosseum. We go right into Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, which is a direct sequel to Pokemon Colosseum. Here's the start menu. I didn't go through all the menu functionalities for this one, but it's all sort of the same thing. You can do like import battles and such, and you can do the story mode. So it starts out, opening cutscene, you have the SS Libra here. It's a nice sunny day, it's nice and tranquil, but suddenly these helicopters come and they surround the ship. And then suddenly a giant dark-colored Shadow Lugia comes in and swoops in. And it's got this cool introduction here. I should mention that this Pokemon, the Shadow Lugia, was designed by, James Turner, who's like the first like American to like design Pokemon and stuff. And this was like his first one that he did. It was a very sick design of regular Lugia. So it comes in, it swoops in, and it like shoots the ship with like a laser, and it starts to like lift the ship up, and it like knocks the 2 people, like the captain and his... I guess these are the only 2 crew members on the ship, and it's probably good for them that they did like fall out of it. So it lifts the whole ship up, and the helicopters are like supervising it, and it flies away. Yes.
Did they fall over that railing, like into the water?
They did fall into the railing. It shows them they're like okay. They are fine.
They're not gonna stay okay if they're out in the ocean like that.
You do see them later.
Okay.
They survive this. So the Shadow Lugia takes the ship. You know, it's not as dramatic as like the Colosseum intro. It's still pretty cool, and it gives you a scope of the ultimate Shadow Pokemon of this game, which is at least different colored than the Tyranitar, which was just normal. So it jumps you right into this Pokemon battle immediately right after this cutscene, where you have the Salamence and you're fighting a Metagross. If you use Earthquake twice, then you win. It's pretty simple, and it's a singles battle as well. And then it's like, oh, this is the end of it. The default name of your main character of this game is Michael.
Whoa!
Yes, Michael.
Where's Wes?
We'll talk about that at the very end. So it wasn't a real battle. That's not your real Pokemon. You start out with an Eevee in this game. You know, similar to the last game. You have the pre-evolution of that. So they're like, well, you're a cool battler. Or he says like, oh, that's too bad that you lost. Because you can lose that first battle. So you meet your mom, Lily, and Professor Crane, who is not your dad. He's the professor of the lab.
As far as you know.
I'm pretty sure it's not, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But so they're like, go find your sister Jovi. She's like playing hide and seek somewhere. So you go around the lab. You can like talk to all the people and stuff around there, and you find this guy hiding. It's like, I've been waiting here for hours, and Jovi hasn't like looked for me. So you go, and you see that in continuation of the last game, you get a lot of news reports that update you about the happenings of the world. And they're like, SS Libra was suddenly taken, and we're like, we don't know what happened to it. So you leave. This is what your home base, the lab, looks like. This is a new area that wasn't in the last game. And in not the cool one-wheel like motorcycle that you had. You have like a little moped that you traverse around to the town. So you go to where you think Jovi has run off to, this like very creepy. It's always like cloud covered and there's like lightning and stuff. This is Kamiko's house, I think. Professor Kamiko, who is, I guess, works with your lab and stuff. So this is Kamiko's aide Chobin. He thinks that you're a burglar, so he's like, he battles you because he can't really see very well because he's got little spirals in his glasses. So he battles you, and then he's like, oh, you weren't a burglar. You were just, you were Michael, obviously. And then you meet your sister Jovi, who was obviously here, and she's like, oh, I totally forgot about the hide and seek thing. So you bring her back home. So you go in Kamiko's lab. There's this running gag that goes throughout the game where Chobin talks about like different inventions, like horrible inventions that they have. He's like, oh, the unhealthy sandals. It hurts to walk around and stuff. This is the greatest invention of all time. And there's several different versions of different inventions that are like this. So if you talk to like the TV and their thing. So you start to learn about what they are researching. This is a lab that is researching shadow Pokemon and different things about that. So because you're a good trainer, you do lots of good things, he gives you a version of the snag machine. So you can steal shadow Pokemon now too. And it's a good thing too because, oh my gosh, Cypher's back and they are kidnapping Professor Crane. So instead of a assistant that tells you stuff, you have this little like say and reader thing that can point out shadow Pokemon. And the first encounter, the shadow Pokemon of the game is this Teddiursa. And this particular Cypher peon is Naps. He has, I guess, not really a story arc because it doesn't ever get resolved, but he just kind of gets like shit on and does like dirty work and never gets rewarded for it. But he's very distinctive, and it's always like, oh, it's this guy. So you can capture the Shadow Teddiursa. It goes to the tutorial. There's the call option, by the way, that you can use to lower the bar on Shadow Pokemon. Yes.
What does level 11 plus mean?
So I don't know why they do that, but whenever there's a Shadow Pokemon, it always gives it a little plus next to its name. I don't know why exactly that's for. Yes.
Isn't that indicating that they have a level up in stock whenever they're purified?
I don't think so because this is he has the Shadow Pokemon, so you haven't captured it, so it doesn't have any experience at this point.
Maybe that's just like a flag that they forgot to...
I don't know. It's kind of very noticeable, so... You got a question?
Yeah, shouldn't it have experience from when the other guy was using it to fight?
You would think, but I guess they don't ever use the Shadow Pokemon until you battle them, so... some differences with the Shadow Pokemon in this game. There's a whole variety of different Shadow attacks in this game. All the Shadow attacks are super effective against every other Pokemon except for Shadow Pokemon. So if you use a Shadow attack on a Shadow Pokemon, it's resistant. So that makes it both harder for your like regular team to capture Shadow Pokemon, but also you could like have a Shadow Pokemon and just like tank stuff until you have the chance to capture it. Yes.
Is this game like the first one in that you can, like, there's no wild Pokemon, you can just only capture Shadow?
There are wild Pokemon in this one.
Oh,
we'll talk
okay.
about that in a little bit. So you get the chance to capture this Teddiursa. Oh, and one other thing that's different, with a couple exceptions, every time after you battle someone with a Shadow Pokemon, if you don't capture it, it runs away. And it leaves their team. So if you battle the same trainer again, they won't have that Shadow Pokemon. With a couple exceptions. I don't know the in-universe explanation for why that is, but that's the case there. So if you don't capture this Teddiursa, it runs away. You try to save Professor Crane, but they throw him into the back of this and they run away. So he's kidnapped. Everyone in the lab is like devastated about this. And then your mom has like a cool cutscene where she looks up and she's like, we're going to continue the research. We're going to finish the purifying chamber, which we will talk about. But it essentially is like a way to help purify Shadow Pokemon. So you go to the Gation port. I think you go for like parts or something. and you go with your sister, Jovi, and so she turns around, she runs into this Thug Zook. He gets really mad about this, so he like throws out his Zangoose, and you can see it's a shadow Pokemon, and it's like super strong. And so your like little tiny Eevee can't beat it. But thankfully, these three people come to your savior. Mr. Virch, you see here, and his two manservants, Eldest and Argos. So he battles the guy with the Shadow Zangoose with his even stronger regular non-shadow Alakazam, and he shoos the Thug away from disturbing you. So they save you here. You meet the captain here, and he gives you a way to evolve your Eevee into one of the five Eeveelutions. So you could kind of pick which one you want your Eevee to evolve into. So you get the parts, and then your mom sends you to an errand in a gate village. So you get to go here again. It's all, I mean, some of the people are different, but it's the same town. You talk to Egan again. He shows you the purifying stone, where you can purify your shadow Pokemon. So you can do it much earlier in this game than the previous one. You go to Mount Battle and you meet Eldest. He talks about I came here a long time ago to train and stuff, and he doesn't say anything super important, but you see him here. You have to battle up to only level 3, the third stage this time, and you have to talk to Justy again, and because he's heard some unsavory rumors. And he tells you that about the abandoned Shadow Pokemon Lab. It's been abandoned for about 5 years. This takes place about 5 years-ish after the events of Pokemon Colosseum. So, but he's seen shady characters going. So you go to there and you see the little truck that they kidnapped him. So you're like, oh, this must be the place. And when you try to go in, these like six Cypher grunts, they are called the Hexagon Brothers, and they all have different colors. They all have different like types based on what color they are. So this is like the electric type, and he is an electric shadow Pokemon. And another running gag they have is they keep trying to have a roll call, but they keep like miscounting. So like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's only 5 brothers. How did we screw this up? And then there's another time they're in a circle. So they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But wait, what? There's 6 brothers. This is it's pretty funny. So you can capture their shadow Pokemon. You go through the shadow Pokemon lab again, much lower level than they were in the previous game because you're much earlier. You get to Naps, where he tries to like persuade Naps to like let him go, and Naps like seems to maybe almost get persuaded, but he doesn't. You battle him again. You save Professor Crane. He accompanies you much like Rui did in the first game. And you go to the very end, and you're about to leave. You're confronted by Cypher Admin Lovrina, which prepubescent me, have a very big crush on. So you battle her. She has a shadow. She has a shadow. Yes.
Her?
Her. Yes. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No. She's a little. She's playful, but she's also evil. They don't really have, the boss characters don't really have like strategies like they did in the other game, and she has like a Shadow Delcatty, which is not as cool as a Shadow Entei or anything like that. So the boss characters don't have anything cool. There are more Shadow Pokemon overall in this game. They don't have to worry about fitting a quota of you have to obtain this Pokemon in this game, so there's a bit more variety. But so you beat her, and then you save Professor Crane, you go back to the lab, you are introduced to the purification chamber, which you can like deposit your Pokemon in like a PC, and it'll passively purify the shadow Pokemon. The mechanic for it is you need to get like a higher tempo, you need to like make like a super effective chain. So like Bug is super effective against Dark, so you get a little bit of tempo here. And you can put up to 4 Pokemon surrounding the main one. And that's basically it. You can passively purify Pokemon. That's their big project. So you obtain from the Shadow Pokemon Lab, you get a data ROM. and they want you to go to Pyrite Town to this certain place to get it. So you get to visit Pyrite Town again. You see that the building from 5 years ago has been converted to this nice gentrified white building here. It's a bit nicer than it was. Immediately you see, I think she's one of the kids' grid people from the previous game. They're running off somewhere. We'll find out a little later. You see Folly and Trudley hanging out in Pyrite Town. They're like, oh, we're just hanging around, Officer Johnson. We're not really doing anything. And so you go to ONBS. This is another person from the kids' grid. A lot of these people have created this like news station, the kids' grid people. So that's what that big white building is. It's like the news place where all the news is filmed, and you get to see, oh, this is where I'm seeing all those broadcasts come from. You hand this guy, again, don't remember any of the kids' grid's any of the people's names, but you hand them the ROM, so they're like, oh, we'll take some time to analyze it. Why don't you go and do some of these side things? Go to the Poke Spots. And you see the mayor. I forget if he's still the mayor or not, but he introduces you to these places called the Poke Spots, where you put some bait down and it'll attract some wild Pokemon. The environment's gotten a little bit better. There are wild Pokemon that are starting to appear in the region again in the 5 years. So you can capture a limited selection of wild Pokemon using this method. And you go through the 3 different Poke Spots too.
In the last slide, yeah, is that the woman that was in his...
That was not the woman who was running out of town.
I'm talking about in the attic.
In the attic? It's the same. There are all sorts of NPCs that look just like this, so I don't think it's specifically her. So you go to a different Poke Spot and you see Folly and Trudley, and they're like, they have this like radar that goes off, and they're like, oh, the boss is coming nearby. So you see this person moonwalk in, and it's Mirby once again.
Whoa!
With a cool redesign. So you battle him. He starts off the battle by doing this backflip, which is just incredible height to it. Yes.
Did you consider dressing like that instead?
I did, but I was like, well, I could use like gold pants more than probably like tight, skinny jean purple pants. So I decided to go with this look. And he has a different theme song this time. It's like this cool like more like disco instead of like crazy like salsa music or whatever. Yes.
Which one goes down?
No.
Is that this one?
That is this one. Yes.
Okay.
So I'll edit it in probably right around here, and I'll match up the snap. So you battle him. He has, I think, some lumbres this time. He doesn't have all the Ludi colors that he did, so I don't know what happened to them. But I should mention at this point, there's this like side quest with like Munchlax, which is cool at the time because it's a Gen 4 Pokemon in a Gen 3 game. You can't actually capture this Munchlax. It's like a way to like decrease your bait. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, Munchlax is eating your Pokespot food. You gotta go stop it. Yes.
So at this point, when this game came out, was Gen 4 out?
There were teases of Gen 4 Pokemon. There's
Okay.
Munchlax, and some of the movies like introduced Gen 4 Pokemon. But this is a Gen 3 game.
So does that not make Munchlax just a very late Gen 3?
You can't
Pokemon?
capture it. You can't interact with it in like battle or anything. But it is there.
Oh, he's right there.
It's there, but it's not like catchable or anything. So, so that's that. It's inconsequential to the story. Eventually, they're like, Michael, we've deciphered this wrong, but you need to come here. And you go to ONBS, and they're under attack. This big bodybuilder is incapacitated, and Cypher has taken over the ONBS building, trying to recover the ROM that you did. I suppose it should have been a tip away that this was going to be a dungeon, because there is a random heal station here, even before it's taken over. So you're like, oh, well, I'll probably need this at some point down the road. So that's there. You battle this grunt. There's not much that differentiates him. I don't even remember his name, but... so they hold her hostage, and they re-get the ROM, and they like destroy the backups too. So you battle him, you shoo them away, but they've accomplished their goal of destroying whatever data was on the data ROM that you got. But he learns from what little he deciphered that they were responsible for the theft of the SS Libra, the giant ship from the very beginning. So you go to Phoenix City to investigate that. And the music this time around is a bit different. In the last game it was like nice and tranquil, but here it's like kind of tense and mysterious. As soon as you get in, there's this random lady. She's like, "Oh wow, you're the 1 millionth visitor to this town. So in commemoration, we're going to give you these battle CDs. You have to go to Real Gam Tower right now, and you can't enter the city. You have to go to Real Gam Tower and use the battle CDs." You meet Folly and Trelly. They're like, "Wow, this battle CD thing, it wasn't that exciting." So you go through. It's all kind of the same. You go through this. It's another like battle simulation thing. So the battle CDs, there's like 50 of them in the game, and it sets up battles with very specific conditions. So it'll give you a Pokemon, and you're facing a certain Pokemon, and there's like a certain way to beat it. So that's basically it. It's a side feature throughout the whole game. It's first introduced here, but you're like, okay, well I only have like 3 CDs, and she's like, "Oh, you should have played at Real Gam Tower forever." Oh, well, that's kind of weird. I wonder what's going on there. You go to the shop in here, and he's like, "Well, shop's is closed, so you can't go in the shop." Justy's like, "What? There's an attack? That Cypher's gonna attack Phoenix City? But and I need to warn the mayor? Well, that's weird. I'm the gym leader, and I haven't heard anything strange about this." So you go to the mayor's office, and then you go up the stairs, and you get this note from that the mayor has written. He's like, "Already, Cypher members are taking the places of prominent members of the community." And then the letter ends abruptly. And the secretary that was in like the mayor's main office was like, "Oh, wow, what are you reading there? Oh, you shouldn't have read that. Oh, it was actually a Cypher member in disguise. So she battles you, and like all the members of the town have been replaced by Cypher members. And at this point, you could like battle them. You can see that the Hexagon brothers have come back, and there are now 6 Justies standing in front of the gym. Yes, Michael.
If they've taken over the whole city, why are they still pretending?
Well, in case someone else does, but you've discovered it, so you're slowly foiling.
That was my question.
Okay.
Who are they disguising themselves for?
They needed to get information from someone, I think. So they needed to.
Wasn't someone in the city.
They're also like stalling for time, hiding their different operations in different parts by taking over this whole town. So you see the camera crew from before who were leaving in a hurry, and they're like, "We're going to show everyone what you've been doing here," and blow a lid on it. And you meet the second Cypher admin of this game, Snaddle. And he talks about having a political record here. I guess we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. But he's a weird-looking dude. He has a shadow lunatone, which is like the moon rock that floats around. He's not too hard. This game is not as hard as Pokemon Colosseum, by the by. So he talks about the third Cypher admin, Gorgon. He's like, "I've stalled for enough time with this operation." So he does a silly little runaway. And you go to the bottom of the pre-gym, which is like this big grassy area, and you find everyone who's been held kidnapped by this town. So you, at this point, free Phoenix City and citizens. Music returns to normal, and you learn where the SS Libre is. You try to go there, but your moped sucks, and it has 2 wheels instead of 1. So you get stuck in the sand, and you can't go there. So you have to go upgrade your scooter. And there's a little news report talking about how the town got replaced, and it shows Snaddle running away, really embarrassed. So you return to Gateon Port, and you get your scooter upgraded. You meet Mr. Virtue, and he's like, "Oh, wow, that's really cool what you did." And that's all that interaction is. You go to Kaminko's house, that's how you say it. And he's like, "Oh, you're a burglar," because he can't see either. So you battle Chopin again, but this time he's in a giant Groudon suit, and that makes him stronger somehow.
What?
Yes, question.
Is he battling as a Groudon?
Yes.
In the suit as if he's a Pokemon?
Yes, and the Groudon actually throws out the Pokeballs in the battle.
But how do your Pokemon attack him unless they're
He
shadow
throws
Pokemon?
out regular Pokemon.
Oh, so he's not acting as a Pokemon.
You don't battle
in
the
suit.
robot, he's just in a suit and battles.
Oh!
That's what this is. So, and this point you learn at the bottom of Kaminko's house, they're developing a Robo-Kyogre. I forget what the plot reason for this is, but it becomes important later. So you get to the ship, which has been crashed in the middle of the desert, and it's like broken up and stuff. This is the first introduction of like push puzzles, which comes up exactly 2 more times, I think, in the game. Not that important. But I think you literally just push this box from here to here, create a path, and you go through. So very rudimentary puzzles are being introduced in the sequel. You get to the bridge of the ship. What's the term for this?
Deck.
The deck. Okay, so you're at the deck of the bridge, and you meet the 3rd Cypher admin, Gorrigan, and you see Naps here, and he's like, "This Cypher admin, you take care of Michael and beat him." And then this Cypher admin is like, "Naps, you take care of him, and I'm gonna go to our main base." And he's like, "Why do I have to do this?" And he's like, "Well, because I said so." So you battle Naps here again. And as you're leaving the ship, Team Snag'em comes up to you, and they have this gloom, and it uses sleep powder on you. So they don't battle you, they just knock you out, and they steal your snag machine. Yes.
Does it have to be a shadow gloom to use sleep powder, even though it just puts you to sleep?
I guess because it's a non-damaging move, it's okay for it to attack people. It's not a shadow gloom, yes.
This is almost unrelated, but is it ever revealed why the Team Snagging people have that like headphone thing?
No,
like
they never talk about why they are like they are. I think there's some jokes about them being like bald, but I think that's about it. So they steal your snag machine. You're really bummed out about this. So for this little portion of the game, you can see shadow Pokemon, but you can't capture them. So you go to this place that you hear about called the Cypher Key Lair. And it's got like this ominous music, and there's like sludge in the water all around it. So it's kind of a dark place. You see the Team Snag'em members. They fight Zook, the guy with the Shadow Zangoose from the beginning of the game. And they're trying to get in too to stop Cypher because they don't like him after 5 years. But Zook fights them off, and you see the battle between Team Snag'em Biden and Zook, and he loses this. So they don't talk about this in some of the election coverage, but look out. Anyway, so you see that fight, and you can beat Zook, but you can't capture his Shadow Zangoose. And there's these 2 bodyguards, these 2 muscle men, who are like, "We can't let you in," and they don't battle you. They just like, "We'll stand in your way to prevent you from battling." So you see the stuff with Mirror Bee. You learn at this point that all the shadow Pokemon that run away from trainers, Mirror Bee just kind of like captures, and you can battle him at the Pokespots for the missed shadow Pokemon. So you can capture all the shadow Pokemon, just not necessarily with the original trainer who had them. So you can see his shadow Pokemon here, but you can't capture it. You go to the Snag'em hideout to retrieve your snag machine, and you battle Gonzap, who's got a bit of a different stature than he did in the previous game, and he jokes like, "Well, the snag machine's so small, I can't wear it," even though they had a snag machine in the last game that wouldn't fit him. Yes.
Did he not get arrested with everyone else in the last game?
He presumably not. I think only like Greevil and NASCAR probably got arrested because all the other Cypher admins like Mirror Bee and Venus and all them, they were in like the deep Colosseum. And I should mention I guess there wasn't a good point to talk about it, but the whole under got like filled in. This is a horrible place for people to live, and there's this like criminal enterprise, so they just like filled it in. So you can't go to that place anymore. But presumably, almost everyone got away except for E-Vice. So you see, so the snag machine doesn't fit him, and he gives you the offer to join Team Snag'em again, but you still can't join it because choices don't matter. So you battle him. I don't think he has a shadow Pokemon this time around, but because you beat him, and he's like, "Well, we don't really need the snag machine," he just gives it back to you. So. He specifically can't use it, so he just gives it back to you here. So you get the snag machine back. You fight Zook. You can capture his Shadow Zangoose, or it runs away this time. And he's like, "I'm just gonna run away." And this is the last time you see this character in this game. So the Team Snag'em members help you out. He uses sleep powder on the 2 big muscle men, and it's funny enough, this one's name is Waken. So Whenever, until you clear this dungeon, these two guys are just going to be laying here the whole time, just asleep. So you go into the lair. It's kind of like a big like office / factory almost. You can see these like conveyor belts. It's a humongous place, and there's tons of shadow Pokemon all over. You get to the very top. You go to this little shack here, and this controls like all the power to the factory. So you just like flip a switch, and the whole factory is just like, or the whole layer is just like shut down. And they're like, how could this happen? So you go to the very top building, and you can battle Gorgon here. And he's kind of like a gorilla dude. And he's like the first encounter that has more than one shadow Pokemon. He has a Shadow Primate and a Shadow Hypno. So he has 2 shadow Pokemon. And from now on, some trainers can have more than one shadow Pokemon in this. So you battle him, and he's like, I'll just blow up the whole place and kill you right here. And that'll fix everything. But, oh my gosh, it's Mr. Birch, a.k.a. Greevil. He's like, I'm actually the leader of Cypher. And he like tells Gorian, don't blow him up. We'll deal with him later. So he challenges you to come to Citadark Isle, which is this place that you've heard about before that's inaccessible to boats because there's like huge whirlpools around the island. So most people can't get to it. And it's like shrouded in clouds. I think that's just a coincidence. I don't think there's any reason behind that. But he's like, come to Citadark Isle off the coast of Gideonport and fight me, and I'll kill you, or something. You learn about, as you're leaving, there's like, oh, Mirrorby, it's specifically Mirrorby. He stole the last shadow Pokemon they ever made, which which they'll tell you is a Shadow Dragonite. So, we'll learn about that a bit later. Eventually, a whole bunch of hijinks, and they finish the Robo Kyogre. So you can go to Citadark Isle at this point. Before we go to that, deal up with some side stuff. There's this side quest with like the Shadow Bonsly. I think it's owned by this little girl specifically. Bonsly is also a Generation 4 Pokemon. So they kind of tease them into this game. And you can actually, in one of the battle CDs, battle with this Bonsly. Yes.
That makes him Gen 3 though, right?
You can't use this Pokemon outside of the battle CD. They don't actually give it to you. So it is Gen 4. Yeah, so that's that. In this one battle CD, it only has one move, so I don't even know if there's like a full like move set for it. Yes, Cliff, your fan.
What is bingo?
Something to do with the battle CDs. I forget. Yes.
That was my question.
Okay, I don't remember what bingo is. It's something to do with the battle CDs.
It's his name-o.
So that's that side quest. I guess that was the only thing. So you take the Robo Kyogre, you can plow through the whirlpools, and you get to Citadark Isle, which is like this somewhat volcano-ish area with this giant sphere. And as you're walking in, you see Mr. Virch and his 2 lackeys go up this elevator with a bunch of Cypher people all around there. If you try to use this elevator, it doesn't work. So you have to take the long way into this tunnel all the way through the dungeon. And it is a very, very long dungeon. You can see here, you're like, oh, this is Mr. Virch's boat. That's like powerful enough to get through the whirlpools. And you can see some like Navy guys. So you go through, at some point very early on in this dungeon, you get to fight Lavrina again. She's got different shadow Pokemon. She's got an Altaria and I think a Roselia. I forget. Again, not as memorable as the Colosseum encounters, but you fight her again. So it turns out that you learn that the whirlpools are... Oh yes, question.
Did you feel bad having to fight Lavrina?
Oh, I enjoyed fighting her very much. I wish I would have fought her a lot more. But, so you learn that the whirlpools are being made artificially. They've made this island inaccessible as like a fortress that no one can get to unless they build a giant fake robot Pokemon that can plow through whirlpools. Yes.
Or the regular pontoon that Birch was using.
Or like the super yacht that he had. Yes. Question.
Not question, just I think it's funny and ironic that the game that doesn't have Groudon and Kyogre on it has
Yes.
Groudon and Kyogre in it.
Yeah, so I guess that's sort of a reference to the fact that they were on the cover of the game. Entei, Raikou, and Suicune were on the cover of Colosseum, and you could catch them, but Groudon and Kyogre are not their models are in the game. You could like import them into the game, but you can't actually see them. So they're referenced here. So they're making the fake whirlpools. Part of the dungeon, this is like block pushing puzzles. You're like in the lava. There are so many battles here and so many shadow Pokemon. These are like moving blocks. There's a little crane thing that they were really cool. They were hyped about and they showed it off in the trailer. But you get to the very top of the island after maybe like 5 hours or something of all those battles, and you get to fight Snaddle again. And you learn that his political aspiration was to become governor of the region. There's nothing really more to that other than that's just what it is. So you battle him. He has a Solrock and a Starmie as a shadow Pokemon, so the sun and the star. And you battle Ardos this time. And he says that, oh yeah, you remember that time we fought off Zook in Gateon Port? That's because he was showing off a shadow Pokemon and we couldn't let that happen. We didn't do that out of altruism. So he has a shadow Swellow, a Snorlax, and some other thing. I forget the third one. So you battle him. He has normal like cipher music. So you meet Mr. Birch, and he's like, well, I'm going to prevent you from going further. So he just erects a giant glass wall. And I guess your Pokemon can't attack glass walls either, along with people. So you fight Gorgon again. He has a Poliwrath and a Mr. Mime as a shadow Pokemon. And then you fight Eldis. He's like, man, this kind of sucks that we were battling under this. He's like, and this battle's going to have no meaning. Do you want to battle me knowing this? And you could actually say no and just not battle him, but you do still have to face him to do it. And he has 4 shadow Pokemon. He has a Manectric, a Salamence, a Lapras, and something else. I forget the 4th one. But yeah, so 4 shadow Pokemon. That's more than half his team at this point. So tough battle, but you beat him and you go into the big giant dome thing for the final battle. The slats kind of like open up to the sky, and he calls forth XD001, which is the code name for Shadow Lugia. So you actually get into a fight with Shadow Lugia right here, and you can capture it. It's just a 1-on-2 battle, but he's like, after that, and I think you have to capture it. I think you do at this point. And he's like, well, there's nothing left of the plans at this point. You've captured our prototype of this shadow Pokemon, and the special thing about it was it can't be purified. That's what the thing is that they say. It's like, its heart's been closed forever. It cannot be purified to do this. And that's sort of, I guess, the plot that's going along in the game. They kidnap Professor Crane to, do further research to close its heart off. And eventually they do perfect it in this version right here. So you battle it, you capture it. He's like, well, you foiled our plan, and now I'm going to fight you. So he has yellow eyes. I think you see it for the first time. And he does a jump in the air too and causes an earthquake or something. At least that's what the camera looks like. So you battle him, and he has a team that is all shadow Pokemon. A Shadow Exeggutor, a Shadow Tauros, a Shadow Zapdos, Moltres, Articuno. He has all 3 of the legendary birds in shadow form, and a Shadow Rhydon. So, and he's, with the parts, except for the parts where you battle trainers without your snag machine, he's the only one who doesn't lose his shadow Pokemon after this battle, if you want to rebattle him after. So, you have, and that's what makes it so hard, is that you have to capture every single one of his Pokemon as you're going, and they all hit you with super effective attacks. So it's a challenging final battle. It's got cool final boss music. But at the end, you defeat him. Ardos, in similar to what Gorgon was saying, he's like, let's just blow up the island and kill this kid, and we'll start over. And Greevil's actually kind of reluctant to do it, but he's slowly convinced to do it. But then Eldis comes in. He's like, we got to stop this. Father. Whoa. They were his sons the whole time. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so he eventually swayed Greevil to just abandon the plans. He's like, we just turn ourselves in and just give up on this. And Ardos kind of walks away and stuff. So he's I guess redeemed at this point or whatever. Eldis congratulates you or whatever. So you leave the island. The sun parts in the clouds part in the sky and reveals the sun for the first time. Everyone in the region's cheering. There's no reason why they should know about this happening at this moment. There wasn't a big announcement that you were going to save the world, but everyone's cheering for you. You go back home, you see your sister and your mom, and at the very last shot, it's everyone who's helped you along the way, including like Gonzap and all of them. So that is the end of Pokemon XD for the story. You go to Egan gives you access to Orre Colosseum, which is actually shown in like the opening cinematic for Pokemon Colosseum. Although I don't think you could actually go there in that game. It's in here now, and this is where you can battle all the Cypher admins, including Eldis. He's like, finally, I'm battling you under like ideal conditions and such. So. There's a side quest with like a Pokemon translator, not that important. After you've captured all of the Shadow Pokemon, you get, I mentioned it briefly, but I kind of skimmed over it, but Foley and Trudley had this radar so they would know whenever Mirror B was coming by, but they dropped it. So throughout the whole game, you know where like Mirror B, it's like, oh, Mirror B's at this Pokespot, and that's how you get the Shadow Pokemon. The last thing is he is in Gaetionport at the top of the lighthouse. So you battle Mirror B. You can see he has all his Ludicolo dancing around him this time. And he has the Shadow Dragonite that that they said at the very end. The last Shadow Pokemon of it. And after you beat him, he runs away. But you could actually see him in the Krabby Club, which was like the big Krabby building in Gaetionport. And that's where he is. He's just hanging out and dancing and having a good time. So... First game, kind of a ruthless crime lord. The second game, he's just a goofy guy that rescues Shadow Pokemon and hangs out. So, to purify Shadow Lugia, what you need to do is you need to max out all the tempos in 9 different slots of the purification chamber. And once they're all maxed out and you have Shadow Lugia in there, it'll get instantly purified. And this is how you get Shadow Lugia, or you get regular Lugia in the Generation 3 Pokemon games. So these are all the Shadow Pokemon in this game. I'm not going to go through the list because there's more of them, but these are all the Shadow Pokemon you get in Pokemon XD, if you want to take a look at them. Okay. Slugma, yeah. Or you get Magcargo, you don't get Slugma.
Oh, same guy.
Yeah, that's pretty similar. So, at the very end, once you've done all that, you've purified Shadow Lugia and all the Pokemon, your mom's like, I'm proud of you, Professor Crane, and your father too. That's the only mention of your dad. Yes.
It's not that guy right there?
It's not that guy right there. Unless she's being very cheeky about it, and she's like, and your dad too, and winks over to Professor Crane. So, no idea what happened to the dad. It's never explained. Yes.
Is there a chance it's the mayor?
It could be the mayor. I kind of skimmed over it, but there's a new mayor of Phoenix City.
Didn't let the other guys
Yes.
say. Where's Plus?
We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, at the very end, once you've saved all the Shadow Pokemon, and you fight Greevil again, and he has like a normal team of Pokemon, you get this special cutscene of Michael putting the Slime machine down on this table, and he leaves it because he doesn't need it anymore because you've saved all the Shadow Pokemon. And that is the end of Pokemon XD. There is a popular... so, what happens to Evice and Rui and Wes? They talk about Rui a little bit because she's the granddaughter of Egan, who you do see again. You don't actually see any of those characters. I think they say that Evice was arrested and put away for it. There's this popular... I would call it a rumor, because I don't know if it's ever been confirmed anywhere. But there's this rumor that Pokemon XD in the early development, they were going to have Wes come back as the main bad guy for Pokemon XD, having been thrown away his good ways and refound Cypher and captured all the Shadow Pokemon, but they abandoned that or something. I don't know if there's an actual source for this, but it's a popular rumor. But in the actual game, there's no real mention. They talk about like the heroics of 5 years ago, but what happens to him and Rui, it's unknown. And there's not really any resolution yet. So this is the map in Pokemon XD. This is where you select the levels. It's a lot like the map of Pokemon Colosseum, but this is a bit better visualization of it. So you can kind of see all the areas. This is like the green part, and this is actually more green than in the 5 years since Colosseum. So the environment's, I guess, being healed or something. And that's that. So we'll go into the final game, of this little series, Pokemon Battle Revolution for the Wii. You'll notice by some of the Pokemon on the cover that this is Generation 4. There's no story that goes along with this. Yes.
Is it Generation 4, or are they just teasing them? By
It is
making them
Generation.
fully
There's
playable?
no Generation 5 Pokemon that you see. So this one they've completely scrapped the the campaign elements of it, and it's gone back to its traditional battle simulation only roots. And there's also no mini games in this either. So in terms of just like content, this is probably the worst one because there's no like fun mini games. It's just battling. Yes.
Are there any unique characters?
Yes.
Like
we'll
Wes?
talk about them.
Okay.
No, but yes. So this is like the options for it. You can make like trainer cards and stuff. You can register your Pokemon from the DS versions, which in the DS there's no like link cables, so you just register it wirelessly. So you save a little bit of money there. You register it, you make your own thing, do some shopping. You can do Wi-Fi battles with it. So this is the basic menu for it. I don't even remember this. I don't even know if she has a name, but that's the menu thing. You could customize your character with different things, so you can make them customize them in various ways. So these are the Colosseums and their leaders, which I will have to read to know all their names. So the Gateway Colosseum, you meet Joe. He is the Colosseum Master. The only personality that they have is sort of just their opening line. So I can't really tell you any personality traits about them other than how they look. Yes.
Is he related to Team Snag and Biden from?
If he is, there's like no, I don't know what this is. This takes place in Poke Park Coliseum. I think the Stadium games did have like, this takes place in whatever city, but I haven't played those games, so I don't know. But this is Poke Park, so it's like just a big amusement park for battling. So Gateway Coliseum with Joe, Main Street Coliseum with Taylor, and you'll notice whenever they're dressed like a Pokemon that you can get like their outfits versus like Joe is his own like model, so you can't get his outfit. Yes.
2 questions about the people dressed as Pokemon.
Yes.
Can they be hurt by normal Pokemon who aren't Shadow Pokemon?
There are no shadow Pokemon in this.
So are the normal Pokemon allowed to hurt those ones? Because
they could. Well, I mean, maybe normal Pokemon could because they think they're normal Pokemon anyway.
I have part 2.
Okay.
Can you catch them?
You cannot catch them.
Okay.
No, there's no catching in this game. There's just battling. Yes.
In the canon Detective Pikachu movie, you two had no problem hurting people.
Again, rules differ depending on the medium. At this point, don't worry about shadow Pokemon. They're in the garbage. Well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about the legacy of shadow Pokemon. But for this game, there's no shadow Pokemon at all. You have Waterfall Coliseum with the not cleverly named Marina, who's dressed as a Kyogre. Neon Coliseum with Rosie as a Roserade. Crystal Coliseum with Voldon, which when I was searching for images, I found like a bunch of AI pictures of specifically this character, and I don't know why. Sunny Park Coliseum with Sachet. Magma Coliseum with Terrell. Sunset Coliseum with Dusty. Courtyard Coliseum with Kruger. And Stargazer Coliseum with Mysterio. So that is, I mean, there's a whole lot of different varieties, and each of these have like their own like different theme music and stuff, so that's cool, I guess. And the graphics have never been better, even though still to this game they just keep importing the models from the previous game and just making like, oh, the Generation 4 Pokemon that obviously weren't in the last one. Yes.
So are the newer generation Pokemon like quite obviously higher quality
Yes.
than the old ones?
Oh yes, you can tell, especially from like the Generation 1 models to the new ones. It's in this game very noticeable. So that's basically that. That's just a big giant battle simulator, so there's not much to really say about that other than the different Colosseums. This is the work of Genius Sonority. You can see that their first big works were both Pokemon Colosseum and XD. They've worked on different Pokemon games, like you've got Troze here, Pokemon Typing, Pokemon Battle Troze, Shuffle, Cafe Mix, and they've also worked on like Denpamin. Like I think this was in like the Direct, like the most recent Nintendo Direct. So, but like they have not worked on any like 3D Pokemon games really since Battle Revolution. Yes.
Do you think there'll be a new Colosseum/Stadium type game that comes out before the end of the Switch's life cycle?
No, I don't think so.
I think the Switch life cycle will end.
I mean, the
I
Switch
think
2
so.
will come out soon.
I think the last,
Oh,
I think the
yeah,
most
sure.
recent direct was like the end of.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But I mean, there hasn't been anything since 2006. I think this came out in 2007 in the States, but you know, almost going on 20 years without, you know, a 3D game. You have a question?
No, you're about to go.
Okay, yes. So in Generation 6, going on the 3DS, we did start to have 3D models and 3D battles. And by Generation 8, we had Pokemon games on a home console. So that's sort of eliminated, I guess, the need for a dedicated battle simulation game because they've got, you know, their own fancy models, you know, ignoring the debate around that. So, you know, there may not necessarily be a need for it, but people still have like a yearning for like the cool, gritty story elements of the Orre region, and they're like, oh, you know, it'd be cool if we came back to there in a different game, but it's not on the virtual console. There's really nothing lined up for it. Yes.
Do you think some of those elements are kind of present in the Legends games though? Arceus and then the coming up XYZ or whatever?
I think those are. I wouldn't say so. I think those are their own different sort of beast.
Okay.
And I think at some point I'd like to have a big giant Pokemon lecture about everything and talk about those. But those mechanics are a lot different than the Colosseum and XD games.
I meant more like the story tone and everything, like the Pokemon attacking people and.
I think there's certain elements of that. I think that's more of a factor of times changing and the different ways Pokemon needs to tell stories now versus a direct influence from Colosseum and XD.
Gotcha.
Which, you know, is somewhat of a shame, but Shadow Pokemon. Just because, you know, the Orre games were over doesn't mean that Shadow Pokemon are done and their influence isn't felt. You see here, this is from Pokken, the Pokemon fighting game. There was a Shadow Mewtwo. I think they do call it Shadow Mewtwo. And it does have its own like special design, similar, akin to Shadow Lugia. And these are Shadow Pokemon from the Pokemon Go games. Which I am not familiar with exactly how the mechanics for that worked. Yes.
If you catch a Shadow Pokemon in Pokemon Go, can you then attack people using
That would be a pretty fun mechanic, but no, I don't think there's anything like that. Yes.
To briefly cover, I guess,
Yes.
what Shadow Pokemon do, it's essentially just you can fight Rocket members.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you
there
can
was-
take the battle. You can take it from them. So.
Okay, so it kind of worked like it did, and I'm pretty sure both are actually like direct references / influences from those games. Like obviously the design and such is like, oh, this is a cool element that we should bring back. Like, oh yeah, we can steal from Team Rocket and such and introduce a light version.
It's really the exact same concept. You can purify them. They're a little bit stronger, but their like stats are usually a little bit worse when you get them.
Yeah.
And purifying them fixes their stats, but then they lose that like damage buff.
It's also currently the only way in the game to get the moves Frustration and Return.
Oh.
Which every Shadow Pokemon starts out with. After you purify it, they get Return.
Yeah.
But for most Pokemon, you don't get stab damage from it, so there's no reason to keep it.
Yeah. So they do explore it a little bit in some of the side games, but you know, in the main, I guess they never were like mainline games, but there's nothing really like a big Colosseum battle simulator or a region story like what we had almost 20 years ago. So if you're looking for battle simulations that aren't the mainline game, there's Pokemon Showdown, which is a browser thing, very easy to do. You could do team builder, you could do all sorts of things. So this is probably the best way if you're just like want to battle a bunch of people. So just wanted to cover that at the very end. This is not official, so you know, Nintendo, you could not watch the last 2 minutes of it. But with that, we've covered everything with the Orre region and the Stadium and the Colosseum and Battle Revolution games. So there we go. That's the end. Do we have any other final questions about anything? Yes.
What's your favorite Pokemon?
What's my favorite Pokemon? I think Blaziken's my favorite Pokemon. Yes.
If you really did have to go back and pick one of those mini games though to be your favorite, which one would it be?
I don't know. Maybe like the Ekans hoop tossing one. That looked pretty fun too.
Nice.
So I think they all looked kind of fun, but I just don't have the urge to. I never did. So yes.
What's your favorite between Colosseum and XD?
I would say XD is a more technically sound game. It's a more balanced game. If I was going back to one, I would pick Colosseum. It's the cooler game. It's the harder game. I love all the jank that goes along with it. I like the tone a lot more. Even though, XD has some... and that's not to say too much bad stuff about XD, because it is... it's still a lot of fun. It's got some cool dark elements to it. But I like the tone and the grittiness more of Colosseum. So, yes.
In Colosseum, what was your most? Oh, that's a great find Pokemon when you found a Shadow Pokemon.
I would say. I would say probably the Hitmontop that you fight that you get right before because it's super strong. Even after you purify your Pokemon, it's still very strong, and you can have it going into the Mount Battle stuff with Dakim. So I felt like I always used that Hitmontop, and it always felt like a strong, reliable Pokemon. So that's why I kind of made mention of Scrub, even though you fight him I think 2 or 3 times in that whole game, and he is just a Cypher Peon, but they did put a little more effort into his design, and he did have a very useful Shadow Pokemon. So. And I think of him as like a big mini boss before you're able to purify your Pokemon and have a lot more freedom in the game. So, yes.
What would you say is the most useless Pokemon in each game to catch?
Most useless.
I guess the Shadow Pokemon, because the other ones.
Probably Shuckle in because it's so late.
But he's a legendary.
It's so weak and it doesn't do a lot of damage, which you can do defensive strategies, but. I mean, it's still, at the end of the day, the most reliable way to play Pokemon is just throw Bludgeon at the wall and hit things as hard and as fast as you can. So the Shuckle comes so late, and maybe the Togetic too, because it's also weak, and it is the very last thing that you get in the game. So there's not anything to do at that point. in Pokemon XD, probably one of Greevil's non-legendary bird Pokemon. Because it's the final boss of the game. It's they're not as cool as the other half of his team. They're just random, strong Kanto Pokemon. So you just don't really get the chance to use them. They come so late. I can't think of... In Colosseum, there are a couple of just random, really low-level Shadow Pokemon.
And Plusle.
Plusle would be the most worthless, except it's not a Shadow Pokemon. So in XD, they're a lot more even. So.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? Alrighty. I guess I'm out of here. Let the music spin.